So, what is the Comma Project? Well, if you want a polished little 2-minute intro, I recorded that yesterday. So here we are, day two, but I wanted to give more context, more story. What am I trying to do here? Well, the answer is it's simple and it's not so simple. It all started 15 months ago when I embarked on this new chapter where I left the startup that I was building and jumped into the void. And it's been the most enriching 15 months of my life, and at the same time, some of the scariest. And Comma is the encapsulation of all these things. I started my career in finance, came up through investment banking, did some private equity investing, but all along the way, it didn't quite fit. Like, I remember being constantly exasperated that, like, this is it. This is all there is. There's got to be something else. This can't be the way that you achieve success, whatever that means. But having to give up so much along the way. I mean, I felt like there was so much to me, and some of the parts of life and who I was that made me feel most alive weren't being addressed. Such a small part of who I was going into my work. And yet at the same time, it was taking up so much of my energy. And I jumped at the end of 2022. And here we are in April 5th, 2024. So, 15 whole months. I'm in my 16th month of nothing and of everything. And I finally, in some senses, stopped fighting myself. I have always loved asking the big questions, trying to understand. My friends constantly joke this bookshelf, which is full. I need to get another one now, but they would joke that my stack of books was what they called my cry for help. But ultimately it was just, that's who I am. And it's who I was. It's always been who I am. And that's what this time has been dedicated to, is pursuing it all, pursuing all of me, pursuing what energizes me, pursuing what I'm obsessed with and what I can't stop thinking about. But that's not a job. Of course it's not. And it may never be, actually. But Comma is my project. The name, actually, I had before I even left my last job at the end of 2022. I had heard it in the context of some self-driving car AI software startup called comma.ai. And that's like, well, I know nothing about self-driving cars or AI, but Comma, that is exactly the kind of thing that I am here for. It made me think of a pause. It made me think of something that connects so many different parts of who I was. It's like I lived my life in a comma, as a comma, on other sides of commas, of all the parts of me that didn't seem to fit. And I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew that I wanted to try something. I wanted to try my own project that did integrate all these parts of me. And so that's what this is. It's writing in the newsletter about this art of what I call seeking and becoming, and the process of seeking and becoming. But I just thought there wasn't enough process. There was so much outcome. There was so much talk of the process, but there wasn't much in the process. And so the writing it started as a way for me to be in process. There were so many things and so many ideas, and there still are over the course of of this time, but none of them quite felt fully clear. And that's okay. But in order for me to start something, I wanted to be really intentional about what that was. And writing to me felt like a way to be authentically in process. It just felt really conducive to being unsure and being unfinished goods. And it felt like the act and the art of writing and seeking to understand what's going on in life and where I want to go and what I'm struggling with and what I'm learning. It seemed that writing to do all those things felt like it had integrity in a way that something else didn't. It felt that I could show up unfinished and in process. And that was in fact the point. And so this podcast is an extension of that. It's, in some senses, it'll be essays extended. It'll be more fluid and personal and dynamic and, in some senses, unpolished thoughts, stories, insights, struggles, wins, in this process of really just trying to understand what's true about me, trying to understand what's true about the world, and what happens in the unfolding of who I become and how I become along the way. It's the next step in what I think about as building a world around comma. There was so much frustration, and there is so much frustration that I still feel about having to separate and have disparate so many parts of life and work. It never made sense to me that work and life should be separate. Now, that doesn't mean I want to work all the time and overwork and burn out, but why should work have to feel like self-sacrifice? And so this, in a sense, is an experiment of me seeing if there's another way to do it. If life and work can be more integrated and more aligned, and if work can be an extension of who I am, and if life can be an extension of the work I hope to do and the mission that I'm on. And at the end of the day, I think that's what work can be. Work can be an expression of a life. I mean, we wouldn't try to, encapsulate or summarize ourselves or someone else in just a sentence or a line on a resume. And yet we do that with ourselves all the time. And so I want to build a world where I and others, including you, can engage however deep you want to go in asking the questions that matter. So where if you believe the thing that I believe, whatever that may be, and it'll change over time, but I believe in seeking what's true, regardless of how challenging that can be. I believe in the process of becoming, as messy and as challenging and as confusing and as scary and as lonely as it can be. That's the only way that I've ever experienced it. And I believe in building a place where I can do it with others that are like me. And that's, to me, what comma is. This is the second step. But I imagine a world where there's even more than this, where there's a place, a space where this can happen in person, in real life. And that's what I care about. I have no idea where it's going to go. It scares me every day, but it is something that makes me feel alive. And that's exactly what I've been solving for. Ever since I started this new chapter, January 1st, 2023, I've been saying all along that I'm not solving for any number. I'm not solving for any particular job. What I'm not solving for any particular number of dollars in the bank account. I'm solving for a day that I want to live that includes all the parts of me that matter. Solving for the day I want to live, including work, relationships, health and wellness and fitness and curiosity and adventure and joy and celebration and excellence and beauty and hospitality and connection and depth and authenticity and integrity. Solving for a day with all those things that I want to live over and over forever. And it was a shift, a huge shift in how I viewed the world. And that's my goal. I want this, I want my life, and I want comma as an extension of my life to be an offering of all those things. And I want you to be a part of that. That's this project that I'm on. And in some senses, this is month 16, but in other senses, it's day one. It's in other senses, it's day two. This is technically day two of the podcast and the YouTube channel, but I'd be honored if you joined me. This is my life. This is my work. This is my life's work. And I want to extend the invitation for you to join me if you believe in what I believe in. And look, this is a bit of a ramble. It's not always going to be like this. It's going to be insights. It's going to be observations. It's going to be conversations. A lot of the things that you won't see in a typical podcast, a lot of things that you will see, and anything in between. And I'd be honored if you join me along the way. Let me know what you think. Share it if you feel compelled. But it honestly is an honor if I'm ever able to create anything that people care about and that matters to someone else, because it matters to me. And I just want to be surrounded by people that care about what I care about. And this is how right now, today, I'm working to do that. So I'm going to keep going, and I'd be honored if you join me.